I guess fourth time's a charm, am I right? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel, and I hope you guys will subscribe because I have some exciting new things coming up, and I actually have a thumbnail I just did over there. So if you want to see the thumbnail, make sure that you stay tuned for an activity that's going to be coming up on my channel because I'm pre-filming a bunch of videos right now. So you'll probably see me like this for the next couple of videos, and I decided that I'm going to vlog weekly, and then make one video and post it someday. But regular videos like this one are going to be going up on Mondays. And so yeah, let's dive right in. Ew, I hate that. Let's get into this. No, I hate that too. Let's start this story time. So this story time is going to be about my horrible bus driver. I'm not going to get into all the details about when it happened or what. I've had to film this video 3 times, all of which I've had to obviously couldn't use for certain reasons. So this 4th time's the charm. Yay! So I just want to start by saying that I don't ever disrespect people. I never ever hardly ever get in trouble, like in a super big way to the point where like I'm getting a pink slip for something or being sent to the principal's office. That's just like not me. I just don't do that. And so a lot of the times I can understand certain times when like other kids will get in trouble because they do something wrong, but in this case scenario, nobody was doing anything wrong. It was clearly just the bus driver who was kind of being a bitch. So basically, a bunch of different stuff happened, and the bus driver argues that she warned us about certain things when she didn't, or that she gave us a certain amount of time. Anyways, since she was a new bus driver, she started coming really, really early, and so she told us that she'd give us a week to get on board with it because she doesn't let kids on the bus. If they're running to get to the bus, she'll just drive away and leave you because she can't wait 10 seconds even though she gets to the bus stop 30 minutes early, and then your turn gets you to school 30 minutes early before school starts, when most people come like 10-15 minutes early. So she's getting us to school 30 minutes early, and she refuses to stop for anyone who will run them to the bus. Maybe it will take you a minute. Most of the time it would just take you 10 seconds to wait and stop until they get on the bus, and then you can actually do your job and take them to school. She was like super insistent on like being like on time, even though she was really, really early. And when she was coming into this, she acted very like not hostile towards us, but acted as if we were acting hostile towards her when like it was like the first day, and she never really gave us a chance to prove her wrong, that we're not a bunch of delinquent teenagers who only cause trouble and mouth you. So that's kind of like her mindset coming into this, and so she was really mean to a lot of us. One time, it was like still the first week that she was supposed to be giving us time to get to the bus on time. She was supposed to be understanding, and all of these things that she promised us got really upset because one of my friend's moms drove around the block so that she was in front of the bus while the bus was still loading kids on. So it's not like she drove in front of a moving car or anything crazy like that. She just kind of like drove, and she didn't even drive right in front of the bus. She just like drove kind of half in the middle of the road so that her kid could get out of the car and onto the bus so that he could go to school. This person, by the way, the mom was super, super nice. Like, she's never done anything mean or horrible. She's been really, really nice. Like, the entire time that I've known her, wouldn't ever hurt a fly, like, complete angel. And so, the bus driver turned around and told this kid that his mom was a terrorist, and she kind of, like, screamed over the intercom. She was like, "She's a terrorist! That's terrorism, that she would drive in front of the bus like that. Like, she's a terrorist, she's a horrible person." Like, to this kid who's literally, like, his mom is the nicest person I've ever known in my entire life. Like, she's just so, so, so nice. And she was called a terrorist and, like, all these horrible things. And all she was trying to do was let the bus driver do her job. And the bus driver, this is going to be, like, super quick because if I were to talk and go into detail on certain things, it would just take forever. She would get mad at like the smallest little things that you would do, and then she'd like write you up, like give you a pink slip, be really mean and hostile towards you. She never hurt anyone physically, but like the words that she would say were horrible, and she just treated everyone really awfully. And she never apologized for anything. She demanded respect like all of the time, and she would never respect us or our parents or like anything regarding us. She didn't care about us. She didn't care about our situations, and she didn't care about like what we were doing. The only person that she ever like cared about or was nice to was this girl who sucked up to her, who sat in the seat behind her and talked to her and tried to convince everyone that they were wrong and that they were doing things wrong, because the only reason she was mean was if you got on her bad side and wasn't doing the right thing. But I just sat in my seat and was quiet and never did anything wrong. She'd stare me down in the mirror. She'd get really mad at people. Two kids got in trouble, and she set them up in the front seat, but they weren't allowed to sit next to each other. So here's one seat, and the other kid was in this seat, and they were just talking normally. They weren't yelling, they weren't screaming, they weren't doing anything bad or horrible. They only got in trouble for standing up, which is really stupid to me, that you're gonna punish them so hard for the smallest thing that they've done wrong. And they just were talking to each other, and she got over the intercom and was yelling at them because apparently they weren't allowed to talk to anyone because they were in trouble, which first of all she has no right to do at all. That's not part of her punishment. She's not allowed to do that. So for her to say that she's just illegally, like, if you've heard the story about a teacher who put duct tape on a kid's mouth, kind of the same situation. You can't force anyone to not talk. That's completely against anything you're allowed to do, and for her to be like that and to say those things are horrible. She was so just awful and mean. She was a terrible driver too. She'd slam on the brakes like at stop signs and at like lights and things like that, almost hit into cars because she was going super fast, and then she'd slam on the brakes. In our neighborhood, she was going like 60 to 80 miles per hour, which is really fast. That's like what you go on the highway or freeway, and she was doing it in neighborhoods where there was little kids walking around, like runners in the mornings, other cars. Like, it was super dangerous, and she was super horrible and mean, and just so many things happened. She kept telling parents and like her bosses that she was giving us warnings and like telling us when to do things, and we were just not doing them on time. But she'd tell us that we'd have a week to like get used to something, some new rule or whatever, or that she would be super understanding about certain things, and then she just wasn't. She didn't care. Like, me personally, I don't have another way to get to school other than my sister, and my sister can't always take me. Both of my parents work. And my sister doesn't always come to school. She's busy, she has her own stuff, and so I can't just get to school other places because my school is like a good like half hour maybe away from where I live, and I don't know how many miles that is, but it's pretty far, and it's not like I can walk or anything. I can't drive myself, so the school bus is like the only way that I can get to school, and I have to go to school legally. So it's not like we were inconveniencing her in any way when that's the way that she made it seem. It was just, I don't know, I hated every single minute of it. I had my sister drive me to school every time she could, but she just couldn't do it every day, and I felt like the bus driver hated me or something. She would like stare me down. She would get mad at people for moving even the slightest bit in their seat. She would slam on the brakes and catapult people onto the floor who were sitting nicely in their seats. She was super mean. She changed what time she always came. She came early. She never let any kids on the bus. One time this kid was coming up, everyone else was on the bus, and he literally, like 10 seconds behind everyone else, shut the door in his face, waved and smiled as she drove off. And there's a difference between being like, okay, I warned them I wasn't gonna wait if he's like at the end of the street or something, but if he's right there like 10 seconds away and you can't wait 10 seconds only to shut the door in his face and wave and smile, then you know that that's just like taunting and tantalizing and punishing for something that like they didn't do. And I just kept feeling horrible in that bus. I hated it. I cried one time because she made me throw away my breakfast. I had been eating breakfast on the bus every single morning, and it wasn't messy or anything. It was just like a piece of toast. I eat a piece of toast like every morning, or a granola bar or something, on the bus, like that every single day for a month that she had been doing the bus driver, and one day she just decided to throw everybody's away. She couldn't even see, like, I had it in my hand like this. I think it was a granola bar. I had it in my hand like this next to my side. There's no way she could have seen it unless she was like looking everywhere for one. She made me throw it away. She made this kid who he had like this whole McDonald's meal in a bag throw that away, and it's like not eat. We weren't even eating them. She just made us throw them away. She wouldn't let us put them in our backpack. Like, we had to throw them away. And for her to force us to do something like that, that's also not legal. She was just a terrible person. And I had tons of friends whose moms and parents complained, and they had to complain to the transportation center, not the school district or the school. And so the transportation center didn't give a crap. They said that she was like the best bus driver they've ever had and all this stuff, but she was driving kindergartners before, which means that kindergartners are probably so scared, and they're taught so often to respect adults no matter what they do. That's why you never know what happens in like the bus or the classroom or whatever with adults and little kids, because little kids think that they need to respect adults when sometimes they're not being very nice. And so no parents would have complained from that, because no little kid would have known that that behavior wasn't okay. And so for her to come to teenagers and do that, we know that that behavior is not okay, and she blamed it all on us. And the people didn't even care. Like, we had to make a fuss to make sure that she wasn't our bus driver next year, because she was horrible. Like, she was mean and she was rude, and she never apologized for anything. She demanded respect and refused to give respect to us and our families in our situations. Like, I am fine. I get enough food and I eat plenty, and when I wasn't allowed breakfast that day, I was fine. I was really, really hungry until lunch, and then I had to eat disgusting lunch, and I really don't eat lunch very often anyways, but I had to eat lunch because I was so hungry. And I'm fine. I get food just fine, but I just can't imagine a kid who doesn't get food, and maybe that his situation, all he gets is, or him or her, or all they get, or is like a granola bar or something in the morning, and that's all they eat the whole day. And for her to make them throw that away, just like the horror and the torture from that. Like, she doesn't know everyone's personal situation, and that just shows that like she's not thinking about anyone else or any of their problems. She's just thinking about herself, like on getting to school on time and all of that stuff. She's thinking about her track record, her pride, and like her job. She's not thinking about the kids in general. She's not thinking about kids in neighborhoods. Like, she's not thinking about whether or not she could end up potentially killing someone because of her horrible driving, or like how she's affecting others. She only cares about herself and the money that she's getting from being a bus driver. And frankly, she demands respect and doesn't give respect back. And so all I want to say is that people like that just don't deserve respect if they're not willing to give respect in return, and if they're not willing to be nice and to understand and be understanding, then they just don't deserve understanding themselves. And I know that this video is probably all over the place and probably really sucks, and there's a whole lot to the story, but the story is just really, really long and hard to tell and complicated. All I can tell you is that she's not a very nice person. She's not going to be our bus driver next year, thank heavens. She did horrible things to other kids, to me, to my friends. She treated us horribly. She never physically hurt anyone, but that's just like saying that's just like saying home abuse is only when you can see bruises. Like, that's just not true. Like, no, my parents didn't believe me when I said that she was just horrible. When I told stories, they just tried to like see it as her being the good guy and the kids always being the bad guy, because again, teens are all delinquents or whatever. Apparently that's what all grown-ups think. But it felt really like, what's the word? I felt powerless in that situation, and so I did my best to keep my head down, but I feel like every kid in there, regardless of whether they had their head down or not, was just getting in trouble for the dumbest things. And it was really, really hard to just sit there and like take it, because like we had tried telling our parents, and some parents didn't believe us. And then the parents that did complained about it, and they didn't give a rip. And like eventually, like things caught up to each other, and she either quit or was fired or something. But all I know is she's not going to be our bus driver next year, which is really good. But it was just like a horrible experience, and the fact wasn't just that she was treating us badly. It was like a safety issue because of the way that she was driving, or the way that she was treating other kids. A news article had just come out like one of the last weeks of school, talking about this racist bus driver who had shut a backpack on a different colored skinned boy, and the boy was running at the bus, and the bus driver was going really fast on purpose, and like he was trying to hurt this kid, and how horrible that is. Because, and I think that like if you're gonna hire people like that, that it's just ridiculous. Like these, like, to transport kids to and from school, like transportation can be so dangerous. Like car accidents and all of that stuff can be really dangerous, and it probably really dangerous, especially to have around kids. You have to make sure that these people are like doing their job right, and to see so many different stories about bus drivers not doing their job right, it's horrible, and we just like need to change it. So if you've had a horrible bus driver experience or anything like that, or horrible bus experience, make sure to comment down below. I would love to read them, and I want to see if this is just like, if this is more common than I think it is. I've only known of this one and that news story, but I just want to know how common it is, because it probably is pretty common. And you know, if you don't agree with me, or you think that anything I've said is wrong, or you have any questions, also comment those down below. I'll be happy to answer you or to explain a little bit more in depth. This is like as best as I can do to like say it. It's hard to explain the way that she was acting. A lot of the things that she did wasn't just because we were breaking the rules, but because her rules were unfair or illegal, or she would just look for ways to yell at people or to discipline them in some weird way, because like I swear sometimes she would make up rules just to get mad at kids, which is not okay in any way, shape, or form. And so it was just kind of a horrible experience. But make sure you comment down below any of your horrible experiences or any questions you have about me or about this experience that I had. I love to hear them. But yeah, I like to refer to her as my devil bus driver, because she was so horrible. And there's so much more that I'm sure I didn't cover because I kind of rushed through it. But yeah, make sure that you subscribe and give this video a like, and go check out some of my other videos. I also have a video, not a video, I also have a channel with my best friend. It's called TheRachels. Her name is also Rachel, and we've done, I think we have like 3 videos out, so if you want to go check that out, you can. One of them is our first time at Lagoon this summer. We both have season passes, so you can check that out. It's actually really funny, so I would if I were you. And yeah, I hope you guys know that, I don't know, I hope you guys just have a great day, and see ya.